The purpose of tonight's project is for the member to be introduced to the skills needed to organize and present a podcast. The purpose of this speech is for the member to introduce his or her podcast and to present a segment of the podcast. Toastmaster Miyuki's comment is, this is an exciting level 4 project. If you want me to make more episodes, please let me know. Wada wada. Toastmaster Miyuki, Life in Central Japan, podcast episode 6, Distraction-Free Apple Pies. Life in Central Japan, podcast episode 6, Distraction-Free Apple Pies. Toastmaster Miyuki.
Wow, just look at those cars parked by the coffee shop. This was one of my first reactions upon arriving in Central Japan area about 7 years ago. My friend had taken me to Komeda coffee shop on a Sunday morning. It was like nothing I'd ever seen before. Fellow Toastmasters, honorable guests, it's been only several years since I first showed up in this region. But honestly, thanks to all the kind people and the rich culture of Nagoya, I have really come to enjoy living in this region. Nagoya and its surrounding areas are very, very full of exciting cultural spots, as well as historical sites like castles. Tourists from outside Japan are excited to visit Nagoya. However, for some reason, Nagoya isn't considered very exciting to Japanese people. Sure, we're not as densely populated as Tokyo, and maybe we're not all living on the edge like the people in Osaka, but Nagoya is still not boring, and it should be possible to show people this. So I decided to create a podcast about the Tokai region. A podcast is like an audio-only radio show that plays over the internet. My weekly podcast is titled Life in Central Japan, and I invite a guest every week to discuss what life is like in Aichi, Mie, and Gifu prefectures. We talk about the food, the culture, politics, and the latest trends. A podcast is actually a great way to get content onto the internet and to people who are interested in your content. All you need is a microphone, a computer, a topic to talk about, and some communication skills, including those that we learn as Toastmasters. Is there something in your life that excites you and that you have expertise in, something that you like to talk about? Then doing a podcast might just be the thing for you. I am about to play for you one of the episodes of my podcast where I invited my dear friend, Yuna Nagato, to talk about the topic I mentioned at the beginning of this speech, coffee shops. We talk about why we like to go to coffee shops, some experiences we all had as people living in Central Japan, including some funny ones. Also, Yuna introduced me to a unique coffee shops that she likes. I hope this episode interests you as well. Please enjoy episode 6 of the Life in Central Japan podcast. Thank you. That's the beginning part, and I'm going to prepare the sound clip, so give me one sec. Chitose-san, please start the time as soon as you start hearing the music.
Sure.
Here goes. Welcome to the Life in Central Japan podcast, where we talk about the life in the middle of Japan. We all know that Tokyo is the political center of Japan, but on this podcast, we talk about the center of Japan on the map. From popular landmarks to local food to culture to politics, if it's happening in Nagoya, Gifu, Mie, or anywhere else in Central Japan, we're going to talk about it on this podcast. I am your host, Miyuki Tanabe, and I'm here every week with a very special guest. Of course, when we talk about Nagoya, we can't go without talking about the cafe or kisaten culture. It's said that the culture started in the northern area of the Aichi prefecture near the city of Ichinomiya, known for its textile industry. In Ichinomiya, factory owners would often have meetings outside their buildings and meet at local cafes, starting in the early hours of the morning. This culture has continued until this day. If you're from the central Japan area, chances are you frequent one or some of these local cafes, and you even have a favorite one. On today's episode, we have my good friend and cafe aficionado, Yuna Nagato, here with me, and she is going to introduce her favorite cafe to us. Hi, Yuna. How have you been?
Hello, Miyuki. I'm good. Thank you, and thank you for inviting me today.
Yes. So please tell me, do you prefer your coffee hot or iced?
Oh, I prefer hot coffee.
Hot coffee, okay. And do you like to put sugar and milk?
No. If I'm really tired, I just put sugar. Usually, I don't put anything.
So you take it black.
Right.
That's great. So
How about you?
I like iced coffee and I also take it black.
Oh.
Yes. But if you go to Komeda Coffee
Mhm.
and you order an iced, unless you tell them not to, they will give you sweetened coffee.
Right, that's true.
So I understand today you're going to be introducing us to a cafe that you go to often.
All right. The cafe that I always go is Bansandu. I know you speak French, so I think you might pronounce it better.
Le Café Vincende. So it's a cafe with a French name.
Yes.
It's very stylish.
Yeah. The reason why I like this cafe is that their atmosphere is really great. Classical, like old-fashioned. It's actually located in the basement.
In the basement?
Yeah.
Wow. Do you go underground?
Oh, yeah.
That sounds fun. That makes it very unique. So please tell us about Vincende. Where is it? And how can we get there?
Okay, it's located in the Sakai area.
Sakai area of Nagoya.
Yes, it's only a few minutes from Sakai Station and also Hisai Outdoor Station. And I really like their specialty, which is apple pie.
Apple pie.
This cafe is really famous for apple pie.
Whoa.
And they serve you apple pie fresh from the oven.
Fresh from the oven. Apple pies. That sounds very good.
Other than apple pie, I think they have quiche or some other light menu, but I'm not actually sure. Whenever I go, I always order apple pie. I just think you should only eat apple pie.
Oh, the apple pie is so good.
Yeah.
Can you tell us something about their coffee?
Coffee. Oh, it just goes well with the apple pie. I think the choices of coffee and apple pie are really great.
You know, what makes you choose Café Vincende over another cafe?
Well, I really like the atmosphere. When I just want to escape from the busy city, it's a really great place to like forget about my life and just focus on like the really old-fashioned atmosphere.
Yes.
And
Yes. So oftentimes we want to relax. And I believe a lot of us from this area think of going to a cafe when we want to relax.
right, even though it is located in a city area, once you step in, it's just like a different world.
That's beautiful. I'm very excited. Thank you for telling us about this cafe. Everyone, the cafe is Café Vincende. We will have more information about this cafe toward the end of the podcast. Speaking of relaxing, in this area, we often see a lot of people in different activities at a cafe. For example, many people will be reading a magazine or reading a newspaper. Some people will bring in a book and they will be there for hours just relaxing with a cup of coffee. Yuna, have you done this?
Right, when I go to cafe,
Yes.
I sometimes want to spend many hours, sometimes to work on my speech or to read a book. But back in school, I used to go to cafe for studying for a test.
Yes, I think we've all done that. I've done that too. Sometimes these cafes are places you go when you want to get something done.
Right.
Right. For example, often I will bring my iPad
Mm-hmm.
or my laptop computer and I will work on a document, or like you, I would work on a speech. What do you think is something a little bit extreme or crazy that you have seen somebody been doing?
I actually have a really interesting one. At the time I was in Komeda studying for the test. And there was like one lady and one guy. It seems like there was an English session.
Okay.
And the lady was an English teacher and the guy was a student. And I was so shocked when they started to do a pronunciation lesson.
Pronunciation lessons.
Yeah.
They were speaking out loud inside of
Yeah. They were like, okay, repeat after me. Apple. Apple. No. It was so annoying.
Wow, that's wild. Maybe the cafe is so comfortable that we forget. Speaking of doing things at a cafe, why do you think that we are so productive when we are at a cafe?
Well, maybe, if I do something at home, I just can't concentrate on it. Maybe there are too many distractions at home. Especially when I was in high school, I was into reading comic books, like girls' comic books. If I just study at home, 10 minutes later, I have a comic book and start to read it. But if I just went somewhere, I just didn't get distracted by it. Also, if I studied at home, I just can't connect to the internet. Maybe like I just kept watching YouTube.
Oh,
So that's why for me, going different place is the best idea.
that's a good idea. So to get away from the distractions at home, you would go to a cafe and work. I think that makes a lot of sense. What do you think about the noise? There is people talking nearby. Does that not bother you when you're at a cafe?
Oh, not really,
Except for the English pronunciation
yes, exactly. That was totally annoying.
But at least we're lucky enough to live in the central Japan region so that we have all these cafes to go to.
Right, it's true.
Thank you so much for your time, Yuna, today.
Thank you too, Miyuki.
Yes, so before we end, can you tell us one more time about the coffee shop you introduced to us?
The name is Bansan-do, which is located between Sakae and Hisai Older Station. It only takes a few minutes from those stations. So that their specialty is apple pie, fresh from the oven.
Thank you so much. I will make sure I go visit that. And I will take a picture and I will put it on my website.
Oh, great. I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you so much. Yuna, I really, really enjoyed your company today.
Me too.
And I hope to have you on the podcast on a future episode to talk more about Central Japan.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for listening. And we hope you'll be here with us next week as I talk with my guest about the significance of Aichi Prefecture's many ruins of castles and battlefields, which today attract attention from tourists both within Japan and overseas. If you have a comment about our show, or have a topic you wish we'd discuss in a future episode, send us an email at podcast@miyuki.studio. That's podcast@miyuki.studio. Thanks for listening and see you all next time. Toastmaster.
Hi, thank you, Toastmaster Miyuki. That was very enjoyable. I've been to a lot of cafes in my time and here in Nagoya, but honestly, I've never heard of or been to that one, so I will put it on my list. Thank you for introducing that one to us.